All right, welcome back. So what we're going to be working on is adding a profanity filter to There Is No Turning Back for when you change your username. We're going to be using the Pergo Malum, the free profanity filter that's available through HTTP. They have a GET endpoint that we'll be using, and we can append different profanity terms to it if we want to. It's pretty straightforward, and eventually we will create our own profanity filter to fill in this role. But in the meantime, this is an easy and quick solution. Do you mind music distracting you while you work? No, I don't find it distracting. I actually find I go faster when there's music. Sometimes I need it to give me the boost on the job, but also sometimes it can distract me too. I notice that if I get distracted, it doesn't have so much to do with the music. It's just from whatever the distractions are. Yeah. Yeah, I work faster with music. That's something I've been told many times. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this profanity filter. So when I look at my code base for There Is No Turning Back, I'm going to look at the HTTP manager, which is here. And in this, I should have a post purchase with a username somewhere. Post purchase Google here. And this is going to pass in my request objects. And then one of these, I'm sure I have under my library DTOs underneath purchases. I'm sure I have a purchase Google DTO, and I do. With a number of these line items. So line item is contained within purchase username here. So we're passing this as a parameter to the backend over here. And this is going inside of the WebAPI controllers for my purchases here. And we're going to do a create purchase Google. I usually play classic music so I don't have words and the song or some beat. But it gets boring after 3 to 4 hours. I understand. I understand that 100%. Lately I've been listening to radio. I've done the classical thing for 3 to 4 hours. It helps for a time, but not for all that time. Hey there, Sound of Gaming. Welcome back. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Boom. Welcome back, buddy. So here, when we create my purchase, and I'm switching out the username here, this is where I want to invoke Pergo Malum. So this is the documentation for it. I'm doing good. Been working on my game today using Unity. That's awesome. How are you? I'm doing great. Finally getting back into streaming. Took a little break. Made a new overlay yesterday. This game's going out on Android here within a couple of days. And then we'll be starting a new project. Morning hours are good for classical, but after lunch I'm in a pinch to what I should play. I end up watching movies and not watching them at all. I even listen to Japanese guys yodeling about chickens. Yeah, I watched a movie with my wife yesterday over dinner. And I watched the first 60% of it by myself, and I didn't remember it because it was because I was programming. I didn't even remember like the basic points. Sad to say, it kept me for 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so Pergo Malum is a free REST web API service. Let me actually do this and then this here. Okay, and it removes obscenities. So to call the web service, we have this endpoint. So we're going to open up Postman and give it a try. What do you think about the new camera angle? Let's go ahead and switch my settings here so my eyes don't bleed to the dark mode. And then my URL is this. This is giving me a result. And if I added a profanity in here, we can see that it's blurring it out. So it's working correctly. So there's a couple of other parameters on this. We have a fill text, which is the text to replace any words matching our profanity text. And then we have a single character to replace any words matching the profanity request. So a fill character and a fill text. And it's going to respond either XML or JSON, depending on what I pass in the header, I'm assuming. So if I were to add in here content type, and then application /JSON and run it again, looks like it wants to give me XML, which I'm fine with. Because I don't see anywhere in here that I can specify the response type. JSON request. So it has to be right here. Boom. So that's what we want. We want this as JSON. So let's go ahead and copy this in here as a Pergo malum response. So in my backend, I'm going to create a new model in my library under responses called Pergo malum response. Let me make sure I spell that right. P-U-R-G-O-M-A-L-U-M. Okay? And oh snap, it's a lapel mic, says a Fallen Hope. Yeah, I've got two. I've got a shotgun mic up there, and then I've got a lapel mic here. And so then I've got a balancing point where I try to get them between the two, and trying to find the perfect balance is interesting. Okay, so this is my Pergo malum response. I can do an edit, paste JSON as classes. So this is my response, and we can go ahead and make it the correct case for C#. And it doesn't need to inherit from anything. So now I need to have a request on this. So on my service data access layer, whenever I have on here a change username, I see a is username available. And in here, I'm going to have a protected virtual asynchronous task called is username validated Pergo malum. And we want to make this a bool. So the first thing is I want to say if my, and this needs to pass in here a string username. If my is username validated Pergo malum of the username, then we want to do this. And this is asynchronous, so we'll add that in here. And here we'll return false. Okay, so in here now, I need to have my HTTP call. So what I'm going to do is using my var HTTP client equals a new HTTP client. What I want to do is I want to set the path here. So we're going to say var URL equals a, and then my URL is this. And I want this to return JSON. And my text here is going to be my username. Now let me check a different app that I wrote, because when I look at this, we have this add property that we can use. So this is a comma separated list of words added to the profanity list that we can add to this. So what I want to do is, in my domain model, I'm going to create a new entity in here called, let me make it consistent between my apps, profanity filter. And in this, the only thing I want to have in here is a name. And it needs to be a base entity. We'll add that into the database context here. And it was called profanity filter. Profanity filters. Okay? Am I labeling any of these tables? I don't think so. Oh, I am. So we'll put this on profanity filters, like that. And then I'm going to take my seed data that I have with the profanity filters in here. Just a second. Okay, and I'm going to add this one in here that I have as a seeded data. I don't really have any seeded data before this. So let me do this over here because it has profanity in it. Just a moment. Okay, so that's been added. And now what I want to do is here, we want to say and my add is equal to, and what I want to have here is a string builder. So a new string builder. And what I want to do is I first want to get all of my profanity filters. Context.profanity filters dot where my is active. And we want to do a toList asynchronous. And now what I want to do is a for I to my profanity filters dot length. I want to do an sb.append, and we're going to append the profanity filters of I.name. And then if my I does not equal to my profanity filters.length minus 1, then we can do an sb.append, and we can append a comma. And this needs to be a count. Anyone here have experience with Unity? I'm having a little trouble getting my background to follow my player. I've been updating the position of the background according to the position of the player. The problem is at the very start, it snaps right to my player. How can I get it to snap and follow my player at its current position? You need to apply a LERP camera, is what I'm guessing, Sound of Gaming. I know I have to offset it somehow. What you want to do is on your fixed update, you want to apply a physics, I don't know if it's on your fixed update or your regular update, but you want to apply a LERP on your camera so that it will like slowly catch up with them. There's also something called a slurp, a spherical lerp, and that it stands for linear interpolation, so that if you want your camera to go from here to here smoothly, then you can use a lerp. And there's a lot of documentation on the internet on that. Hey there, Johnny Sparkles. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the chat. Okay. And here, what I want to do is add my sb.toString. And that's my request URL. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a response equals await my HTTP client dot get string asynchronous from my URL. And then I want to return a JSON convert dot deserialize object of my Pergo Malcolm response like that. And up here we want to go ahead and wrap this in a try catch. So we're going to say this is my response, and if my response dot we're going to call this my PM response, and if my PM response dot result contains an asterisk, then we want to return. If it doesn't contain an asterisk, then it's a true. And otherwise, we're going to return a false. C# dev, I do a lot of development in a lot of different languages. At the moment, I'm using C# and ASP.NET Web API for the backend, 2.2 core. And then I'm using Identity Server 4, and then also an ASP.NET MVC app for the front web app. Okay, so I think that should be it. Because if this is false, it's going to return false, and it's not going to validate it. So let's go ahead and check to see what happens here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a username change here. And I'm going to change it to a bad word. That username is not available. Interesting, it doesn't seem to be hitting the back end. So when I'm looking at the back end here for where I'm getting my is username available, it doesn't seem to be attached to the server here, or that it's debugging. I started my first job as a .NET developer, says Johnny Sparkles, almost a year now. So I do a bit of SQL and front-end development. I studied Java in college. I'm glad you're doing .NET. What kind of .NET dev are you doing? SQL is a great language. I like it for data analytics. Do you use Entity Framework for your front end, or are you using an object relational model? So I think my debugger is not working correctly here. Yeah, that worked. So let me try one of these. That worked. So let me go ahead and stop this. There's something going on with my user ID here, or my, so we're going to leave this so it's readable. In here, what I want to do is I just want to return a true. Since this is giving me a headache with its debugging, I think I need to give the computer a restart. I'm trying to learn Blender and I forgot how to join edges. Is the edge collapse using X? I don't know Blender yet. That's my next one. I've been learning Illustrator to get my 2D stuff down. We'll try it again here. Okay, that time it worked. So let's try it again. We're going to kill this. Stop that. We're going to get my profanity filter. So the reason that failed is because I haven't updated my database. So I need to do a add migration here called added profanity filters. Womp. And now we'll do an update database. Okay, so now that that's done, you can try this again. Give everything a run. My startup projects are interesting. We want the web app, the web API, and the identity server. What up there, Keith? Yeah, whenever you want. My wife's out of town right now. You want to come to Ventura? We could go get sushi tonight. I need some dinner. How you doing, buddy? I got the demo ready to go out. It's gone out to a couple of people. I'm doing sort of a phased rollout on it. Let's give this another run. Okay, we're going to give it a unlock username here to Bob. All right, that passed. And if I look back here at my Pergo malum response, which is being utilized here, this is now working. And so if I were to try, I really need to look into lambdas on AWS. Why do you say that, Keith? Tell me more. And what I want to do now is this time I'm going to buy another one, but it's a username change, and I'm going to implement a bad word for it. And it says it's not available. So now we have implemented this change. All right, easy enough. Let's go ahead and make the commit here to our 460. And we're going to do no turning back 460, and my comments are going to be, my time is 25 minutes, and my comment is added profanity filter for username changes. And we'll do a commit. Lambdas and DynamoDB. DynamoDB I know all about. I use a lot of MongoDB. But I don't know how the lambdas work with that. That's the thing that I still got to look into. And now we're going to look at my development branch. And I'll merge 460 into it. Let's go ahead and push that out. And we'll take a look at the board, and we can move 460 over to be completed. The next one I have here are for my starting positions are periodically wrong, which is my fairy starting in the level. Interesting. Sorry about that. The fairy when it starts in the level, the character when it starts in the home, the trainer, and then trees for the seeds and for the doors. Yeah, I was understanding that the Lambda is the controller, so to say, right, of the WebAPI. And I'm imagining that I can use, but it's not a perennial connection, right? It's still something like a WebAPI where it connects. Does it allow me to have persistent connections? It's code. It can do anything. Interesting. So in terms of cost, I already pay for an EC2 instance on Amazon. I mean, is that more or less expensive? I have a lot of different servers that are running on that, or apps that are running on that one. So maybe not, but maybe for like some that are in high demand. I don't know. Tell me more. So I think the next one that we're going to do are let's do my test if my web API cannot be contacted, and then we'll do my starting position changes. So this is 481, so I'm going to do a branch here for no turning back 481. So if it's barely being used, then it's almost no cost. If it shoots up and has to scale, lambdas are serverless. They scale by default. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So what, do I create ASP.NET Web API, or is it its own Lambda API code in C# or something like that? Let's go ahead and push that out to 481. Do you have a link to some C# code examples that I can look at on air here? Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to test the web API to make sure that everything is working correctly. So at the moment, when I connect to the app, Johnny Sparkles,
Yeah, you can curse, no problem. This is a chat full of devs who knows their stuff. Not sure if I can curse. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Also, we've got a YouTube at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. So the AWS function handler. What is this? Is this a console app? What kind of app is this? Is this its own AWS Lambda app? Oh. Okay. All right. I've seen this. Okay, I might be in love with this. Let's go ahead and save this link here on my desktop. And we can implement that at another time. So my backend here is working. What I want to do is run the app. Key says public class product service. With a serializer. Yeah. I see that. It seems really straightforward. How is it to deploy onto it? 1 million Lambda transactions is free? Whoa. Okay, let me think about that. Cool. Will do. I'm only a year into the proper dev, still got a lot to learn, but the company I work for invests in their devs. That's important. And also to find the right community. Make sure you join us, Johnny Sparkles. You upload the code into the AWS console. So you write it in your editor, and then you turn around and you copy and paste it into the AWS console? Or you're actually coding it directly in the AWS console? So now that I'm connected here, what I want to do is I'm going to play the game. Where are you from? I'm from Southern California. I live in Ventura. That's where the YML files come into play. So the YML files are what you create. They're like C#. I'm a little confused how it all connects here. So this time, when I pick up this supply, I want this to update and fail. So I'm going to stop my backend and close the app. Once I read the docs, it'll come into focus. That's what I was guessing. I'm all the way across the pond in Ireland. That's awesome. I work for a global company. I work with a number of people from Ireland. You got some smart people out there. So you sound like you're on your way. Okay, we now get my could not communicate with server. We want it to continuously fail here. And it does. And now I'm going to open up my backend. 20 cents per million? I can use any .NET stuff with it. Like I got some .NET using YouTube stuff on the front end. I could just turn around and use Lambdas for that. I understand my authorization server is still going to have to be... I got to think about this. It's kind of blowing my mind. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the back end. Python.NET and Node. Interesting. .NET Core or .NET Framework? Yeah, I don't know how that would work, though. The API authorization. That sounds like a whole other system similar to what I'm already using. So now I'm going to run this again and try my retry. And it worked. Okay, so we don't even have anything to do on this ticket. It just works. That's great. I made a change earlier, which I thought maybe fixed it. So we can go back to our development branch. And in here, on my board, You can go ahead and move this over to be completed. The next one is 463. We're going to check my starting positions and why they're incorrect. You can use their API, any .NET, JWT tokens. What do you mean any .NET? JWT tokens is what I'm currently using, but I'm using Identity Server 4, which I could put in a Docker container and I could launch it that way. But I guess I'm not understanding what their API gateway is. Like what infrastructure it represents. Let's take a look at 463 here. So we'll do a branch on no turning back 463. It defines the API. So it sounds like their authorization API gateway, their API gateway is analogous to my Identity Server 4. You hit it, you get your tokens, and then it will turn around and use those tokens in anything that you put into Lambda. I think I'm with you.
So the whole thing is Amazon supported. So in this one, my starting positions are incorrect.
Keith, what do you think about the new overlay and also the new camera?
So in this one, we're going to look at my starting positions. And there's a couple of different places where that's defined in the app. The first one is on my map. So if I look at my scriptable objects here under my map system for something called base map, which is under base objects, I should have something in here called get valid starting position. When I look at this, this has a really ugly loop in it. What it does is it grabs a random position out of all the 50 positions in there, then it validates it, and if it's valid, then it returns one of those positions. So an alternative is that I could have it calculate all of the valid starting positions, but it's going to have if I were to like iterate over every single tile in the environment, then we're going to have a lag time between the levels.
You can use your own auth server, and the AWS gateway will use those. It seems to work well. That sounds more like what I will be using it for. This sounds really interesting and sounds like a way I can offload some of my costs.
Didn't Amazon just get hacked or whatever? I actually don't know anything about that. Could you tell us more about that, PR? So this validate map potential positions, if I were to look in this class, we have this one without buffer, which is not being used anywhere. And then we have these two get validated positions and a validate potential map positions. And I probably should have one more in here for get my initial position. So if I look at my get validated positions, this one is getting all of my grid objects in range and validating them against this method. If I look at my validated positions, this is doing nearly the same thing, just off of a position. And my validate, this is getting each of my potential targets that were passed in. It's getting its map object conflicts. It's looking for inappropriate tiles. If it's not, then it's looking for inappropriate here. Inappropriate conflicts here of blocking object or moving object. And then if it's a player, it'll just keep going, and otherwise it's checking to see if it's pushable and it'll stop. So this looks mostly okay. So my biggest issue is this get started position. Now, I'm also looking in here for an override of this. So for example, my ferry, Amazon's AWS handles 60% of web servers and traffic. Fortnite is running in AWS. Yeah, I know that. I know they have a partnership with Epic. Yeah, about their EC2 server's customer info was leaked. I'll see if I can find the Feedly link. That's crazy. I hope that's not me. I wasn't notified. Hopefully I will be. So when I create my ferry, underneath base map, I am using my get valid starting position. And my validated positions here, I should have a new thing called placement. Get grid position random. So this is inside of my looping. So when I get my grid position random, it's evaluating each of these different positions and tiles. Oh, it's the buckets though. It's the S3 buckets. I guess those are problems I'd like to have, you know? You're a bucket, says the Fallen Hope. So back in the coding, I need a new algorithm for getting my starting positions, besides just checking 50 random positions. So let me think about that for a second. Well, you could optimize this. So what you could do is we could say that my get grid position random, we keep track of the positions that were checked and that we don't allow them again. So in my grid position random, a Fallen Hope says, I really like the new layout. Thank you. Yeah, I think it came out okay. I'm pretty happy with it. If I look at my grid position random here, I want to include here an I collection of vector 2
called my unavailable positions. And I don't want this to end in a endless loop. So let me go ahead and pull this back out, and I'm going to do this on this side. And I'm going to have a new variable here called var unavailable positions. This is a new list of vector2. And I want to say that my vector2.0, so we're going to say var new position equals vector2.0. And then while we're going to do this loop while my new position is inside of this while my unavailable positions contains any of the points where my s is equal to my new position. So here we'll do a new position equals that. And then we want to get my validated position, which is this. And then if otherwise, I want to return down here a unavailable positions dot add my new position. And now this time I can move my error checking into here. So up here we're going to have a index. And I want to do an index plus plus, and I want to say or, no, you want to do an and my index is less than we'll say 100. And I think that'll work better. Let's try it. So here, we need to say if my index is greater than or equal to 100, wait, your unavailable positions are and your index is less than 100. If your index is over 100, then you want to return a vector2. So you can do that by going the other direction. If my index is less than 100, then we can do this. And let's try that. Yeah, thank you, Johnny Sparkles. Yeah, I had it the other direction. Apologies about that. Good catch. If we had the currency system running, I'd give you some currencies. Okay, things look a little bit more strict. Let me go ahead and make a change here on my home panel. And when I look at my button here, we want to move it down like -60. That's pretty low. We'll put it at like -55. And I want to apply that. So things really want to be spread apart now. We'll check it one final time. Wait a minute. Hold on. When I look at this again, this time I'm making sure that my unavailable positions here, I'm adding them if it's not available anymore. We can get rid of this. If your index is less than that, then you're going to get your validated positions here. And you'll add this to your unavailable positions, which aren't being used anywhere. So here, we want to say if my unavailable positions dot any s where my is equal to my new position, then we want to continue. And then we're going to do my validated positions. And if it's good, you'll return it. Otherwise, you're going to add it. And then you'll do it again. And that's what it should be. So I was like, where's the loop? So you're going to get a new position. And if it's there, you're going to go and get another new position. And here you want to say, or your index plus plus is greater than 100. So if your index plus plus is greater than 100 or there's any of them, then you're going to continue. Then you're going to validate your position. And otherwise you're going to add it here. So here, if my index is greater than 100, then you want to return a new position. No, a vector 2.0. So you'll get a new position, and then you're going to check your index. And if it's unavailable, then you'll get to the next one. Then you're going to validate it. If it's validated, you'll return one of them, otherwise you won't. And then you're going to keep doing this while your index So let's change this a little bit. We'll say while there's not any in here, then you can do this. So you're going to get your grid position, and then if there's not an unavailable position in there of its type, then you're going to continue. Otherwise, you're going to check to see if your index is less than 100. So once it gets over 100, it's not going to work anymore. So you're going to get your grid positions random, and if it's not available anywhere in the unavailable positions, then you're going to validate it. And if there is a validated one, otherwise you'll remove it. And I think that'll work. Let's try it again. So things look like they're in an okay position now. And this is going to take some testing to make sure everything is okay, but it looks okay right now. And everything looks like it's randomly distributed correctly. That should fire a achievement. One thing I want to do is I want to say enemies should move within one level back regardless of number of worlds. And we'll add that into this fix and also add it to me and create it and add it into the sprint. Okay, the other position changes that we have. I'm going to add this one in here as a no turning back 463, and my time will be 25 minutes, and my comment will be adjusted starting position algorithm. And the next one is we had the trainers in the home, which is not correct. That's fine now. But our seeds were growing indoors. So if I look here at my player, we should have an action in here called seeds action or something like that. Seeds action. Here. And it's in base moving object. So with this one, it looks like I have my own calculation here for it in terms of what's appropriate or not. So what we're doing here is I'm creating a blocking object and then getting a grid position randomly. And this should be a valid starting position, kind of. So if I look at get valid starting position, I'll make a new one called starting position tree. And what I want to do here is get a random position where it cannot block the doors. So in here, we can do a get valid starting position tree of my blocking object. And now here, if my random position does not equal to vector 2.0, then we can add this to the map. And that looks pretty good. So now to test this in my game manager, here we're going to do a var item seeds equals service.create item of my item type dot seeds, and then I want to do a player dot item equip of my item seeds, and I want to do a RAD remove here. Sorry. Uh-oh. So here, my starting player was able to end up on the chair. So we need to check what's going on with that. But if I were to grow seeds, they should no longer grow. Interesting. So the seeds are placing like they're not a random position. So here, when we're running the seeds action, you're getting your starting position, pardon me. Is starting position here, we want to put false. So now when I start this and I grow the trees, it can block, and it can block a lot. Now with any luck, I'll be able to buy more seeds here in just a second from the trainer, or from the shopkeeper. I can't. Cannot communicate with the server. So one of these fish is not in the purchasable objects. So underneath shop items, I'm going to look at items here. I have 2 fish large and 6 fish small. They're all here. So we want to add in here a new board item where we say that the purchasing fish large definitely are not purchasing successfully, are not registering correctly with the WebAPI. And we'll add that to this fixed version, and we will assign it to me and create it. And we'll add it to the sprint. So now here, when I look at my player, where my player is getting created on my game home, get valid position, new player position of your map. So this is going to be my grid object for players. So if I look at my grid object here for players, its initial squares from other objects should be like 3. And then with characters, I don't even see that. And then if I look at my blocking objects for the interior, my initial spaces should be 3. And we'll try it again. One, two, three. It is 3 away. Why don't I see any of the other abilities for my characters? Do I only have the one character currently? I do. Okay. That's fine. Let's try it again with the seeds and the doors. Yeah, it's definitely got its distance from the doors down. So if I look at my blocking objects here, called forest, I think it's actually under buildable. It must be under forest for trees large and trees small. My initial distance from the door should be 3. And I really want to put it at like 2. So we'll try that. Put them right in between them, which doesn't make any sense because it shouldn't be because of the differences. But okay, we're going to add just a little bit of helper code for this. Oh, yeah, that's actually okay. 1, 2, 3. You could add that to be like 2, I think. Let me look here at my seeds. That doesn't have any information about whether they're grown or not. Let's just put that at 1. And try it again. Yep, and there he is right on top of the chair again. So we'll just add in a piece of code just to handle that. I'm pretty okay with that distribution. So we want to make sure that here in my player starting position here, and your map. So it's your world.map current.get grid object conflicts of my new player position and a is starting position. And my base grid object source will be the player. We want to say .count. We want to say .any. And that should resolve it. Yeah, their distance looks good. It's giving it +1 off of the doors already, which means that these trees you want to put these as 2, and then in the placement under base map, I don't see what the difference is. True can block doors. So is it a starting position? Is false. Then you want to get your distance off. So here, when we're getting my tree position, my tree position is here, and I want to put this at true. Let's try it again. So if I were to switch that and put that as true, as a starting position, now it's only going to be a couple of positions off of the doors, right? Yeah, if you have it set that way, you hardly get any because of the offset position. So here, we want to make this a false. And we want to say, yes, it can block doors. Maybe. And let's see. Do you guys hear that static too? can kill the sound here. That looks fine. So that looks better. I think maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get seeds at the trainer here. No, but we got the small fish, so that one works. So we can try it again. We need a little map. Yeah, and now it's definitely off of the doors enough. So that'll work. So now when I look at my code base here, I can look for my key R8D, and we can remove my build seeds. And now what I can do is I can jump in here and I can say no turning back 463. I'm going to say my time was 30 minutes and my comment was move structure of shop items and corrected starting position of objects and trees spawned from seeds. And we will commit that out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit that over into my development branch. 463. And we can move that to be completed. The next one that we're going to do is we're going to correct the leaderboard to show the correct number of survivors. So for that one, what I want to do is I want to make a branch here for no turning back 451. And we'll push that out. And in my backend this time, where I'm looking at my leaderboard here, we're getting my global scores here, which are invoking on my WebAPI my leaderboard endpoint, which is here. So when I look at my get high score globals here, I'm mapping them here from my survivor saved, which is coming from these ranked entities, right? This is a list of these high scores, which is coming from the games. So your supplies here is going to be your do we want to show the total supplies or the final supplies? How about the final supplies? And on the survivors, we want to show the survivors total. Okay, this next one, we need to do the same thing here. Total survivors. And this last one, it's total survivors. And that's it. So here we can go ahead and change this little bit of code. And we can just do a no turning back 451, and my time will be 5 minutes, and my comment will be modified survivors, so they are from total survivors instead of final survivors. And we'll commit that change out. We're going to go ahead and merge this in to my development branch, 451. And we'll push that out here. And up here we can close out 451. So the next one is that we want to investigate why my deaths of my blocking objects are not being captured. And that'll be under 482. So if I look here under the board, we're going to do a new branch called no turning back 482. And I'll push that one out. And then we're ready to start this next task. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short break. We'll be back in 13 minutes. Then we'll go for another 30, and that'll probably be it for the day. And then we'll pick up again in the morning. I'll try to start at about 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't touch that dial. Enjoy the music. I'll see you guys in 13 minutes. If you haven't joined our Discord, make sure you check it out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And also I put these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thanks again. Don't touch that dial. See you in just a little bit. Let's jump into this. We've been going for a few hours today, 4 hours earlier and another 2 hours now. So what I want to do is look at this ticket, investigate death of blocking objects and why they are not being captured here. So let's go ahead and attach this and try killing a blocking object. Dat new angle, that's my last name. Just still getting that thing adjusted here as we're getting used to it. All right, so we've logged into the game, and what we want to do is we want to kill a blocking object. I'm so used to the camera being on your right, it's freaking me out. Yeah, I got a green screen too, so I may add that, but we got to wait till I relocate because it's probably just not going to fit right now. So we need to create a blocking object and then destroy it. Can't destroy that one, but you can destroy this one. Now I never fired that event. So if I look at my buildable object, just a second. When I look at my blocking object interactable, animated, this one is not interactable, but this one is. And if it's a type of torch, you should have this death effect here. Okay. So when we lose health here, it is damageable. We lose my current health. Should be at 2. That was crazy. It wasn't enough to kill it, but it still killed it. Is that what's going on here? Let's go ahead and kill this and try it again. But it's never killing it. But then you're removing it. So here I want to say, if my current health, I guess I don't even need that bit of code. Let's try it again now. Hey, we'll do a build. Now it still shows that it's there, it just killed the object. So we do want to have it removed from the map. And when we do my interaction on this one, see, but then you're doing it by the number of damage points. And if it died, you'd remove it from the map. But it didn't die. Here, you'll move this here. And then you're going to do your interactions here. Right? And then when that's done, I don't even see where it's removing it from the map yet. This is making the new interactable type if it's a toilet. This here is where you're losing health in your blocking object. Which would be your death event, which is never firing.
So we'll try it again. Oh, I started on top of the chair again, didn't I? Okay, so my current health is 2. So it should just end. And then it's firing an interactable event and checking it again, but it still removed it off of the map. So in my interactable event, on my game manager, for on interactable event, all I'm doing is setting the light layer. For everything that's not okay. This one. Right here, put object in pool. So I'm going to stop this one. And here I want to say if my current health is greater than 0, is less than or equal to 0, then we want to put it in the pool. And your blocking object type is equal to close rack. And that should do it. We'll give it another run. Okay, so we'll build one. No, I'll break it. It stayed there. Now it's saying that it's been interacted, so we'll put this here. Lamp. What's the lamp? What's a lamp? It's sad I don't remember what lamp is. And we're going to bring these two down. And I don't think you need this double effect thing. Because of this. So these two can be the same. And I think we're ready to try it again. Hey there, Echo Hack. Welcome to the channel. How goes it today? One, two, three, and it died. Now I can't sync it to the server, is that correct? Oh, it looked like it did. So on the back end, on my map objects, hey there, Echo Hack. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. We've got a really active and supportive community. Make sure you check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Nice to see you just hanging out programming offline for a bit. Figure out find another lovely programmer streamer. Yeah, I hear you, buddy. It's a small community, you know what I mean? But tight knit. So now that I captured it, if I look at my game manager for where we have my death event, this is the blocking object. And this should be posting an update and buildable update. So I feel like it was this one that failed. So we'll try it again. Okay, and we will build one and then break it. It tells me that I can't post to the server, which is interesting. We try it again. Well, yeah, it looks like that time it's submitted, so is it because I'm building it too fast? It's strange. We'll build it again. This time I'll smash it out. So it's really peculiar. What if I was just to comment that bit out? So now when I go to the next map and I destroy it, now it no longer does that. So that's a bug I'm going to have to do as a RAD resume here. And let me go ahead and close this up. And close up the game. And then, sorry about that. We're going to jump in here and I'm going to make a commit on my no turning back 482. And my time will be 20 minutes and my comment will be investigated, deaths, and modified. So objects are not destroyed or put into pool unless their health is 0. Problem with debugging update buildable object on WebAPI/client on client/WebAPI interactions. And I'm going to go ahead and stage these two and push them out. As for me, I'm out of time. I am tired. I will be back though at 5:30 in the morning tomorrow, or I'm sorry, 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. If you have any questions until then, make sure you check us out at our Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Also, make sure you check us out at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thank you again, guys, for staying with me today, and I hope y'all have a great rest of your evening. Have a great one, guys. Bye.